When the final whistle blew inside Blundell Park on that unforgettable Carabao Cup night, few could quite believe what they had just witnessed. Grimsby Town, a league side often overlooked in the grand stage of English football, had just dumped the mighty Manchester United out of the competition. The stadium erupted into scenes of jubilation, tears, laughter, and disbelief all rolled into one. For the Mariners, this was not just another victory, it was a piece of football in history that would be remembered for generations. And, as it turned out, the celebrations that followed were every bit as extraordinary as the 90 minutes that preceded them. The underdogs had triumphed in spectacular fashion, producing one of the most seismic shocks the Carabao Cup had ever seen. Manchester United, a club synonymous with European glory, Premier League titles, and world-renowned stars, were undone by the grit, determination, and fearless spirit of a team for divisions below them. For the Grimsby players, many of whom were more used to long coach journeys to Barrow or Crawley than facing global icons, this was the stuff of dreams. And when the dream became reality, there was no chance of letting the night slip away quietly. The party began almost immediately after the final whistle. While United's squad, heads bowed and expressions grim, wasted little time rushing to the team bus, Grimsby's heroes stayed behind, soaking up every ounce of adulation from their loyal fans. Chants rang out around the ground, scarves waved furiously in the chilly night air, and children sat on their parents' shoulders, wide-eyed at what they had just seen. The energy was infectious, and it carried directly into the dressing room and, soon enough, into the clubhouse. A local fan, who happens to run a popular fish and chip van inside Blundell Park, later revealed the scale of the celebrations. According to him, the players weren't content with a quick toast or a handshake. They went all in, ensuring the party reflected the magnitude of their triumph. "I had a few drinks with all the players," he recalled, still buzzing from the night's events. "It was on the house, completely free. What a night. You can't say no when history's just been made in front of your eyes." I'll admit, I was feeling a little worse for wear the next morning, but it was worth every second. Inside the clubhouse, the atmosphere was electric. Tables were pushed aside to create makeshift dance floors, speakers were turned up full blast, and bottles popped open with the same energy the team had displayed on the pitch. Grimsby players, some still in parts of their match kits, sang arm in arm with fans and staff. Beer and champagne flowed freely, laughter echoed through the walls, and the underdog story was toasted again and again. For a few hours, football's rigid hierarchies melted away. There were no millionaires in designer suits, no barriers between professionals and supporters, just a shared, unfiltered joy that only football can produce. The celebrations went on deep into the early hours of the morning. Reports suggested that the last songs weren't sung until around 3 a.m., by which point the players were still brimming with adrenaline, their bodies aching, but their spirits soaring. It wasn't just a victory on the scoreboard, it was validation, a moment that proved that football's magic is alive and well, capable of producing nights when the impossible becomes reality. To put the upset in perspective, Manchester United's annual wage bill dwarfs Grimsby Town's entire budget. The Red Devils arrived with international stars, players who had competed in World Cups and Champions League finals. Grimsby, meanwhile, fielded a squad of determined professionals, many of whom had once been rejected by bigger clubs, and others who had only recently battled their way up from non-league football. On paper, the contest was hopelessly uneven, but football is not played on paper, and under the bright floodlights of Blundell Park, the Mariners carved their names into cup folklore. Fans leaving the ground that night described it as the greatest evening of their lives. One supporter, who had been attending Grimsby matches for over 40 years, said, "I've seen us win promotions, I've seen us suffer relegations, but I've never seen anything like this. To beat Manchester United is the kind of thing you tell your grandchildren about. And the best part, the players celebrated with us like we were all one big family. That's what makes this club special. For Manchester United, the night was one to forget. Their players, many visibly frustrated, quickly departed, heading straight onto the bus that would take them away from the embarrassment. There were no smiles, no prolonged interactions with fans, and certainly no celebrations. In stark contrast, Grimsby's stars embraced the moment wholeheartedly, realizing that such opportunities do not come around often. The images and videos that later surfaced on social media showed just how spirited the night became. Players danced on chairs, staff members raised glasses, and supporters filmed themselves belting out club songs at the top of their lungs. One clip showed a group of players leading a chant about the victory, their voices hoarse, but their grins unstoppable. Another showed the fish and chip van operator, pint in hand, being lifted onto someone's shoulders as the crowd roared approval. When the sun finally rose the next morning, Blundell Park was quiet again. The beer glasses had been cleared, the music silenced, and the players finally tucked away in bed. But the memories remained. For Grimsby Town, this was more than a match. It was a statement of what football is all about. It was a reminder that money, prestige, and reputation count for little when 11 men step onto a pitch with belief in their hearts. In the days that followed, the victory was celebrated not only in Grimsby, but across the footballing world. Neutral fans, starved of genuine underdog stories in the modern game, hailed the Mariners as heroes. Pundits debated whether it was the greatest upset in Cup history, and in Grimsby itself, the town buzzed with pride, fish and chip shops selling out as locals relived every goal, every tackle, every roar of the crowd. But perhaps the most powerful memory will not just be the result, but the party that followed. The sight of a league squad celebrating shoulder to shoulder with their supporters until 3 a.m. encapsulated everything that is beautiful about the game. Football, at its core, is about community, unity, and moments of joy that defy explanation. On that night, Grimsby Town showed the world exactly that. So here's to the Mariners, to the Red Devils, and to that unforgettable night at Blundell Park where football defied expectations and a small squad made history. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and watch our other content for more unforgettable stories from the world of football. And if you want to support us further, consider becoming a member. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep following your dreams.